Welcome, everyone. My name is Jeff St. Laurent. Why am I so excited? Well, look at this. I got someone here again. So excited to bring Javier on. Just a minute before I do that, I record all of my shows. I put them in my university at sellingcoaching.com. I help coaches transition to a full-time business. This dude is one of them, and we're going to talk through his story and his amazing accomplishments in just a few. Before I do that, go to sellingcoaching.com, become a part of my community right on the homepage. Enter your name and email. Not only are you going to get part of my community, but you're also going to get a great resource. It's an audio resource called Launching Your Full-Time Coaching Business, the First 3 Vital Steps. Without any further ado, I want to welcome to the show one of my awesome mentor coaching clients, Javier Penalba. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Jeffrey, for this opportunity and this space.
It is so cool. When I did the promotion for this, I actually wrote, it was like a year and a half. But prior to going live, we were talking and I was looking at the dates again and I'm like, he's like, I think it's been longer. And you went through my 5-month program back in late 2021, finished early 2022. So you've been rocking at this now for 2.5. You're closing in on your 3-year mark in this business.
Yeah, more or less. I finished at IPEC in 2020. I think it was like December 2020. And at that time, I was already doing, so I followed your course, your free course that's part of the IPEC itinerary, and I was already doing a little bit of coaching since back then, but of course not full-time or anything like that. And I hadn't taken your five-month course yet. So, but I already had an idea about the business because of your initial course.
Yes. So let's talk through this story a little bit here. So, because this is all leading up to this really cool thing. Wait, no, let's hold back. It's his book. Let's wait a second. Hold on a second. Let's get the story first, because so you came into the program. Just tell everyone. So now we're winding to, about September, October 2021. Where were you at with your business when you came to me in my group? Just people give us a snapshot so we know the journey that you've been on.
Yeah, I think back then I already had my website established and I had my Facebook and my Instagram. I had my Aweber, again, following your initial course. So I had that set up already. I was doing once in a while some YouTube videos and posting them on Facebook, doing some events once in a while as well. Very, let's say, inconsistently in a way. And I did not have any clients at that moment. So I had a couple of friends that had come, perhaps do one session every 4 months, every 6 months, something like that, right? And that's what I had. That's where I was back then. But then when I started your course, things started changing.
Let's talk about that, right? So basically start from scratch, other than some, mechanical things, website, all important stuff, but none of like really doing the business consistently. So you said things started changing. Talk us through what started changing for you.
Yeah, well, I was very committed to doing the live events, for example, weekly, and then posting that on Facebook. On Facebook and also on YouTube. And once in a while, I was also posting videos on YouTube, not related to a live event, but just doing that like passively, not live. And then I noticed that people started reaching out, especially through what I was doing on YouTube. So regardless of whether it was posted directly on YouTube or first on Facebook, I was getting some people noticing me. And then what I was getting from you, let's say, the ability to communicate and not just in a friendly way, right, or just giving too much, but really just the business side of it. I think that helped me to start getting some clients back then, and I got my first client right when I was in your 5-month course. I don't know if you remember, but it was like was 2 weeks, I think, into the course, and then I got my first client. I was like, wow, this really worked. I followed all the guidelines that you provided there, and then more people started coming that way. Like posting, then doing a live event, following up a little bit. But at least in my case, this may be different from like to everyone else. Most of my clients actually have come already pretty much requesting coaching. I haven't really had to do a lot of the um, negotiating or conversation. Not a lot of that. Just perhaps the initial call, and then the um, the free coaching session, and
Yeah.
then usually it has gone well in that sense. But of course, not with everyone. Some people just in the end decide not to. Yeah, but that's how it's been. So right now, yeah, it's been well. Actually, I have right now 5 clients at this moment, which is good. Yeah, and I'm not in the same company anymore. Like I'm not working for a company right now. That's another, could call it milestone, or
Yes.
yeah, I can talk about that later if you want. But yeah,
Well, yeah. So the journey along the way is right. So yes, you started off. You started understanding how to talk to people, because I remember the calls we would have outside the
yeah,
group. You know, of like you were screenshotting and sending me emails and of all these little conversations and helping you navigate those conversations. And that's when you got that first client and you started getting clients from there. Is understanding that process, right?
yeah, yeah,
And then for you, even beyond the group, that's where I mean, we would have a random conversation back and forth. You'd ask me a question here and there, and I remember you got to that point where you're like, I want to quit my job, and you wanted to quit your job when we were going through the program. But talk about that decision for you. Talk about that, because there's a lot of people who will watch this, live or face to face. I mean, recorded afterwards. Who, they're in that spot where it's just like, I'm earning money and the coaching business isn't providing yet. Talk about what that transition for you.
Okay. Um, so the fact is, yes, I am not working for the company anymore. And I had taken that decision, let's say, many years ago. Like you're saying, perhaps even like a year and a half ago, I had that idea in the back of my head, but of course, I didn't have any specific deadline. That came perhaps like last year. I thought perhaps mid this year I would do this. Um, Based on, yes, getting more clients on the one hand, and planning also. If you have no job in Germany, at least you do get a little bit of support from the government as well, depending on how much you're getting, and then that gives you some boost, uh, some financial support so that you can continue building your own business, right? So what happened is that it's not that I quit directly. The company in Germany had 3 entities, let's say, and they closed here pretty much. That was like end of January. Yeah, and then I was given the opportunity to continue with them through another means, or other entity, whatever. But I decided to, like, this is the opportunity for me to really go full with the coaching and to live my dream, and to realize my stuff. So this accelerated the process. I was gonna do it, I believe, anyways, mid this year, but it just went a little bit faster than I was expecting, and now I just have yeah, like I said, I had this plan B in the sense of the financial aid from the government, and plus my coaching clients, and I also have a side business. I may tell you about that perhaps another day, but something that's also that I'm cooking there. I think together, all of that can help me to really live my dream, which is to be independent and an entrepreneur and not work for someone. This has really, really been my thing for the last perhaps 2 years since I started with the coaching program.
Yeah, it's so cool to hear, how you've found a way to create that. And that's what people listening to. It's just like there's ways of doing it, and it takes time to do that. And that's why when we talk this through today, is like this process now is going on his third year of doing this, right? And so
Yeah,
this stuff takes right. You can hear just by the way he said that, he's like, yes, there's a whole process, and along the way, you're also living your life. Um,
yeah.
let's rewind for a second, and because I want to bring this into your personal achievements and then also the book. Um,
Mm.
talk with people about your message in terms of your core message, which speaks so loudly through this book that I get excited to share, which obviously stems from your story. Just tell us a little bit about what that is.
Yeah, well, the main message is that anyone with a fear of commitment, and especially if they've had a rough childhood or any difficulties while growing up, uh, and has difficulties committing, let's say, in relationships or in other things. It can be also jobs. It can be buying a car, getting a house, all types of commitment. This is very tied to inner, at times, inner insecurities, lack of confidence, uh, perhaps even giving an absolute importance to decisions, so that you're so afraid that if you do something and it goes wrong, it's fatal, it's the end, right? So you want to keep yourself in that little box or that little comfort zone where you're protected somehow. This is what happens in the end with the fear of commitment. And my message is that no matter what happened to you, you can go through it and you can overcome it, and you can have a rich, fulfilling life, innerly rich, that where you feel love, you feel connected to people, and that where you're not afraid of making decisions, where you can just flow. And of course, you think about your decisions, not that you're just gonna decide anything on the fly like that, but you'll take it more easily uh in a lighter way, let's say. So that's my overall message.
Yeah. And was really cool is when you came to me too, like, and when you get Javier's book, we'll talk about how you can get a copy as well after this, but you'll hear his full story, and it's a very compelling story. And when you came to me, it's just like there's this fear of commitment, especially in intimate relationships, right? And it's like you said, there's fear of commitment in a lot of different areas. But what I really I've appreciated about you is while you say those different things, especially when we talk about the book and how you've lived your life, it's been that commitment to relationships. And a lot of people have challenges in that space. And you
Hmm.
found yourself in relationships where everyone else would be like, wow, look at this. It's a very happy, loving relationship. But for some reason, for you had to constantly pull away and you had to run away. And you worked at it, you studied it. And going back to uh, when we did the program in December of that year, of 2021, tell everyone what you did.
Yeah, well, I got married at that time. Um, a civil wedding, let's say. So yes, and then 6 months later, I did the church wedding, so that official big event. Yeah, but I got married right when I was doing the program with you, and that was a huge milestone, especially considering my past, right?
Yes. And that's exactly it, right? So I'm just highlighting that because, it was so exciting because of the story that led up to that, the relationship you were in, obviously, at the time, and someone who's so fearful of commitment to be getting married. And then also a testament to what you did in your business, really pushing it forward at a time where you're like, it's one of the biggest times of your life, getting married, especially having two different ceremonies, if you will, in different countries, correct? If I remember correctly?
No, well, both of them were in Germany.
Sure, yes.
The honeymoon was in a different country, was in Greece, but yeah, the ceremonies were here.
But so it's that commitment to your business, it's commitment to that relationship. And then fast forward till about 10 months ago, another blessing came into your life.
Yeah, my little Luna Maria, who's downstairs right now playing. Yeah, so I had my first baby, my first kid 10 months ago, and it's been a blessing. Tiring, of course. There's a lot of work involved, a lot of, let's say, tired nights. You know that you also have kids of your own,
Yeah.
but it's a huge blessing, and I would never change or regret any of that.
So this fear of commitment to committing to your business, to committing to a woman, getting married, committing to the point now you have a child together, and who knows what else is going to be on the way, and then committing to saying, I'm leaving my job, and I'm going to find a way to be independent and make it
Yeah.
work. Right, complete transformation to all the while all this is going on, birthing something else pretty freaking cool. Welcome to this bad boy. So, talk about this process from inception to reality.
Yeah. Well, this. is a big thing, I believe. I started working on myself, let's say about 5 years ago, 5, 6 years ago, just reading some books and learning about self development and spirituality, learning also about the fear of commitment. And I had that idea that maybe when I'm older, I don't know, 50s, 60s, at that time, I'll write a book. I don't know about what exactly, but I'll write a book. Uh, then, while I was, I believe it was while I was in your program, around that time, I was thinking I had already prepared like a free offer,
Yeah.
which at that time I prepared it. Think about yeah, about like 5 tips to go through to overcome the fear of commitment. So it was in that direction, but I thought this could be linked to something bigger. I believe this, if this piques the interest of people, then I can provide something bigger. And I was just reading somewhere about how to write a book because I had no idea. And there were some people saying that you could write a book like in a day, but just 20 pages, and then uh, sell it, right? And I just did that, like 20 pages. It took me perhaps a couple of hours within like 2 weeks. And I was like, I cannot sell this. This is like, there's so much more that I want to give to the world, and that wouldn't fit in 20 pages. And I'm just postponing this publication of this for however long it takes. If it's a year, if it's 2 years, I don't care. But there's so much more that I want to give and to provide in this book. So I committed to another commitment to writing weekly a couple of hours, especially on Fridays, since I was working only 4 days a week for the last year and a half, more or less, in my company. So I had Fridays for myself, and I was taking most of Fridays for my business, including about 4 hours on writing. Then weekends and one day here, one day there, but especially on Fridays for the last perhaps almost 2 years, a year and 8 months, something like that. That's what I was doing. And yeah, it went from 20 pages, which was only like 5 tips to overcome the fear of commitment, the same thing that was on my freebie, right? But expanded into 20 tips, and then like 5 other sections, and then my story and some spirituality as well that I put into that was not in the original manuscript. And then yeah, that's how it came about.
Into a close to 400 page book, mind you. Like this, like, listen, let me tell you, man. I wrote a book years ago, and it was close to 400 pages. And when I got this book, the first thing I said was like, "Wow, dude, this is a book." And like this is no joke. And I want to highlight what you're saying, Javier, for people watching this is that like it starts with the free resource. Right? It starts with a free resource, right? And you still, and I'll put in the chat a link to your website. We'll put a link to, you can check out his book there as well. But you can check that out there. But you still have your free resource right on there. You have
Yeah,
I'm looking at it right now. 3 powerful tips to overcome commitment phobia and connect to yourself in the process. Right. And that's where this started. And it was your commitment over a couple of years with a vision of what can I do with this? And you have more to offer. And here it is, 400 pages later. And it's just like, this is a real book, man. Like I haven't read the whole thing yet, but I've been starting to read through it since I got it a couple weeks ago. And it's very solid. Like there's a lot of really good stuff in here.
Thank you.
Talk about, since you've had this, because now, when was the date since you've had this, how long's it been?
Published, you mean? It's been
Yeah,
like
like in your hands, like people getting it out
yeah,
there.
yeah. It's been about. So my original idea was to get it published in St. Valentine's. So at that time, I at least was not online, but it was starting to get published. It was like on the 20th of February, maybe.
Yeah.
So this is
Yeah.
already well, a month, a little bit more
Yeah.
than a month ago.
This is fresh. This is hot off the press.
Yeah, exactly.
What are you seeing now that you have this book? How are you planning on or would like to be using this with your coaching business in terms of how you want to grow it?
Well, at this moment, the book is selling, right? So my hope is that people that read it will be more interested in the topic, and also just getting personalized support from me. So I do provide my contact and all of that at the end of the book. And that's one opportunity that I see for people to book me as their coach in this area. And secondly, I'm using it actively with my coachees at this moment. So
Mm,
I recommend it from the beginning, from the first session, and I tell them that a lot of the things that we'll be discussing here is already in the book, so you can take your time and to digest some of the teachings and some of the things that we go through in the coaching sessions already for you to go deeper into it through the book. So, and I think it is giving good results. From the people that are reading it, I see that we talk a similar language again. We understand some of the things that may be behind the fears without me even mentioning it directly in the session because it's already the book. So those are the two things that I see there. And of course, if I make an event, if I do something else, even a video, right, I do talk about the book and by the end, so that can uh yeah, like not just do the marketing but also help people to understand more about it, and then go through that process. If they want to book me as their coach, then that's the information is in there as well.
yes, absolutely. Um, we could talk forever, man. We could talk forever. Um, I just want to say, with this and for everyone watching this, um, you've really chosen an area that's personal to you.
Hmm.
You've chosen an area that's really tightly wound into your story and your experiences. And you even shared, like in the back of the book, it says like this is you sharing your personal experiences with this, and like you are an expert in this space. Like you are an expert. And I remember our conversations early on, we were talking and I'm like, dude, just be an expert in this space. You don't have to be
Hmm.
an expert in every space, but be an expert in this space. And this
Yeah.
brings you to a level of authority. You already were an authority just because of what you've gone through, and then how you've overcome that in your own life and what you've done, and showing I can commit. I'm not the guy I was back, and all the stories that people will read when they get your book. Um, but I'm just so genuinely proud of you for what you've created so far. And as much as it's been a long journey to date, it's just the beginning, isn't it? Right?
Mm, this is just the beginning. Yeah, there's many other things that will come in the process, not just in this area, but I'm thinking suddenly get an idea like I should write a book on something else, especially going into the like inner peace, mindfulness, that area. I love that, and many more things will come in that area. But also here, I do recall that conversation we had. You told me you should picture yourself in speaking at an Oprah live show, something like that, about this. Like if you were really an authority in that area. Like, man, I just went through it, but I'm not an expert at that moment, right? I haven't. I've read a couple books and all this, but really that just pushed me. Like, you gotta just grow the confidence to keep researching and to feel like an authority because I've actually lived through that, and that's bigger than what many other people I think have in terms of if they've read it, right? But
Yeah.
if you've lived through it, that's different. And apart from that, I've already talked to, I would say, at least 50 people. Maybe not all of them have been coaches, have become coaches, but at least 50 people that have had this issue. And there's so many similarities and so many, yeah, you could say many profiles, but it all goes back into something very similar. And that has also, I think, fed a lot of the pages of this book, I believe, because of their own cases, and the wisdom that I get from coaching them as well is huge. At times I finish a coaching session and I'm like, uh, man, I hadn't thought about this. This makes total sense. Like I get a new insight that at that time was getting into the book. So after some sessions, I would just write out of the inspiration that I got from my own coaches. So that's another huge source of inspiration. My life, people's lives, and of course the theory and the stuff that I've read from outside. That's what got the book where it is right now.
Yeah. And I hope that you see because you're a humble guy. You're completely a humble guy. I hope that you almost can catch up to what I see you as, or what other people can see you as. And listen to this. This is very important for everyone to understand. This took me a while. Is oftentimes other people will see us as way more of an authority or credible or of a authority figure than we even really see ourselves.
Mm.
And when I got this book, and my other clients, I wish I could walk over on a bookcase right now that I've worked through this with and that are on the shelf there. And whether they publish a book or not, right? That where we could be an authority,
Mm.
but oftentimes we don't see ourselves like other people can see it. Like someone who buys this book who doesn't know you and starts to read this, you're like a Tony Robbins to them. You're like I mean, I'm just picking a name that's a stratospheric name that most people in personal development know. And it's just a matter of us or you catching up with that, to see
Mm.
yourself in that way, not to have an ego, not to have anything else, but rather than to know the influence you have. And that
Mm.
influence is power. And if we use that power to help further what your why behind writing this in the first place, imagine what you can do.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm noticing what you're mentioning, perhaps indirectly. What we all have some saboteurs, right?
Yes,
That tell us perhaps we're not there yet or something like that. But I've learned, I think, also from you and from other people that yeah, we are perfect right now, and we are just like you're saying, authorities in this moment. Perhaps we'll be more knowledgeable in 5 or 10 years, but right now, what we have is enough to help others. Just being one step ahead, just like you said at some point, is enough, right? And what if we're
absolutely.
2 or 3 steps ahead?
It's so true, right? Javier, thank you so much for sharing this gift with me, with everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks for your commitment, not only to what we did, our work in the past, but also to your wife, to Luna, your baby girl, to your vision for being on your own. Like, you're an inspiration to the people seeing this and then around you as well. I put in the website, I put your website in there. Tell people where they can get a copy of this book so they can get one for themselves.
Great. Well, perhaps I can comment in in that post that you will make. So I
Yeah,
just write the link of the book there, and
absolutely.
it's of course also my website. It's right there, so it's very easy to see. Yeah, and I just want to thank you really for this space. This came very suddenly. I think like a week ago you told me, and of course
Yeah.
this is totally unprepared. You just throw in the questions, and it's not like I could prepare for any of this. I was a little bit nervous. Perhaps the last 15 minutes before the call, like what are we going to talk about? Yeah, but this is cool. I really like it, and again, thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And thank you for your trust. Thank you for your trust and trusting me and all the crazy things I would tell you to do. And you're like, okay, and how to respond and what to say and what to do. And you're like, all right, I'll do that. And then, oh, okay. And look at, and I'm looking forward to another 2, 3 years and getting you back on here to be able to see, like, wow, look at where I am now.
Yeah, yeah,
And that will be
definitely.
exciting.
Yeah, that
So
sounds like a plan. Thank you.
absolutely. So thank you, Javier. Thanks everyone watching this. And we'll be back with more great things like this and great stories.